So on the first page, wanted to have a no stress page. I use this book called Fresh Fruits whenever I want to do a reference for clothing. So I use that on the first page with the cat and the girl. On the second page, I wanted to try negative painting, and after I finished it, it was just seemed very boring. There was no focal point, so I ended up putting a portal with a frog in it. I was testing out gouache on this page. You'll see the two dinosaurs. The blue one is in gouache and the brown one is in watercolor. I wanted to put them side by side to see which one I liked better because I was going to paint the dinosaur in a portrait that I was doing of my nephew at the time. So on this page, I wanted to try painting a Gerbera daisy. They're very difficult for me, but I used a reference out of the flower color guide. YouTuber Kimberly Crick has a art channel, and she suggested if you're looking for flower references to use this book. This is actually a portrait of me squeezing my wash rag while doing chores around the house, and for some reason I thought it would be a great moment to draw. This page is kind of funny because I had this idea that I would teach my family to go into the woods and forage for mushrooms so we could have mushrooms at every meal. I don't know what I was thinking, but anyway, when I started reading these mushroom books, I found out that a lot of mushrooms, like the poisonous ones and the edible ones, look very similar. There's just like little details that might make it different from one from the other, and I didn't want to be the reason why my family ended up in the hospital with mushroom poisoning. So got some Posca pens. I tried out some Posca pens. It was great fun. I like the little landscapes, miniature thumbnails that I got there. Tried some different cross hatching and patterns and stuff. Had fun with that. Next page is trying out different color combinations together. Here, I spilled my coffee beans, and I thought that would make a good painting. Used a combination, watercolor, acrylic, colored pencil, just kind of did it all in there. On the other page, you'll see a butterfly with its wing broken. My daughter Squeebert, she finds bugs that are hurt or injured, and she will try to rehab them and bring them back to health. And this was one of her patients. It did not survive, and then after it died, its wing fell off. I felt really sad about it, so I painted it. I doodled this little lady dog when I was having a lot of stress from having to work during the pandemic. I did this during the summer of 21, and ended up having to take a 3-month family medical leave because I got to the point where I was near nervous breakdown. So that's a little doodle from that. Not much to say about this one. It's a bucket of frogs that my daughter Squeebert had caught. And then the morning glories from my back porch, both in the summer of 21 also. Looks like I drew some amoebas in the background of that. So here I am trying acrylic gouache, and that's a self-portrait. That's me in my scrubs. Looks like I'm sad, the sad nurse. Anyway, I was trying acrylic gouache, and I really didn't have a use for it, so I figured I'd try simplifying my style and just seeing if that would work better with the flat, opaque paint. On the next page, I got this book as a joke when we had our child. our first child, and I really like the illustrations in this book, so I just wanted to try that style out with my own subject matter. So I drew this dog in that style, and I have a little story behind why I drew this picture. I love dogs. Dogs are the best, man's best friend, but they can also be like extremely gross. Me and my husband were driving one time, and we were out in the middle of farm fields, and we were at a four-way stop, and on the other side of the stop in the road there was a roadkill that was so old it was just like mushed to the ground. Couldn't tell what it was. A couple tufts of fur hanging out here and there, flies all over it. And out of nowhere, this dog came running, and he did a somersault into the roadkill, and he was rolling around in it, and he just looked like the happiest thing. Like, that was heaven. You couldn't get any better than the way this dog felt at that moment, rolling around in that really putrid, gross, dead things. This is the Boko Undo picture. Not a real big fan of the paint, but I wanted to try it out, give it another chance. I did make a video of this, so I'm not really going to talk about it much, except for the page on the left I painted because my son likes Fortnite, and the page on the right I painted a stack of my daughter's stuffed animals. A lot of unicorns in that stuffed animal stack, bunnies. I see a Beanie Boo. That's my daughter's stuff. Yeah, trying out the Boko Undo again didn't turn me into a fan, so I don't know. Maybe I'll try it again. I don't know. We'll see. Next page, I did a video of both these pictures. The page on the left is my son. The page on the right is a picture from our vacation this year of me and my daughters. And then there was this blank space in the middle, so I put a bird. I made him in watercolor and colored pencil. I don't know, I kind of feel bad about putting him in the crease of the book. He's going to be stuck there forever, but, you know. Okay, this picture is a springboard for a picture book that I'm going to be doing, so I can't show it. I also did a video of both these paintings, so I'm not really going to go into it, except say that this is my first time trying a Holbein acrylic gouache. This one I was trying it again. I did gouache on this bear picture and acrylic gouache just to have them side by side, see their look difference. They look pretty different. It was just an experiment. This was gouache. I don't think I'm even done with the page on the left. Page on the right, flowers from the Flower Color Guide book. So frustrating and difficult for me to do flowers. It takes so much patience, and I do not have patience. I don't know. The payout doesn't seem as worth all the effort I put into it. Okay. So this spread, the page on the left, I wanted to do my childhood home, and it kind of like in a children's book, or even like make it look like a child did it. And it kind of turned into art therapy. The picture has a fire in it because when I was really little, our house was like a quarter mile away from this oil refinery. And back in the 80s, a crack formed in one of the oil tanks, and it blew up, and it blew the oil tank, like it blew it over our house, and it landed not too far from our house in some trees, in a little thicket of trees. And the blast was so powerful that it shook the area like it was an earthquake. It knocked our house off its foundation, and I was in the basement looking for some roller skates, and the windows blew in, and I wasn't hurt, but it was just very traumatic. We ended up having to live in a trailer in our driveway for, I don't know, months, while people came and tried to fix our house, and it was just very traumatic. This picture on the bottom of the bedroom, that is a place I saw an Airbnb and I really wanted to stay there. It just looked like an awesome place to stay. It's too expensive for us to stay there, but it's a whole mid-century modern house, and I just fell in love with the way it looked. Nothing to say about this. This is just like some doodles that I made in my thought sketchbook, and I drew them in here just to color them and paint them. And then this one, another springboard for a picture book, so I can't show that. These are just from doodles in my thought book. I masked off all the detail parts in these two pages so I could get the background all like flowing from one picture to the other. You guys have seen that one. I made a video of that. Well, some of you guys have seen that one. If you want to see it, I made a process video of this. This is gouache and a little bit of watercolor underpainting. The other side is a little backstory into these birds. I made a deal with God that if he ever woke me up in the middle of the night with any kind of image or idea, I promised that I would get up and draw it. So now I get woken up in the middle of the night all the time, and like some of this stuff, I'm like, do I have to draw this? It doesn't even make sense. And a lot of times it doesn't, but it ends up turning out funny or quirky or whatever. So I had this, I got woken up by this idea of a twisted bird. So originally it looked a little bit different, and then I reworked it, and I just wanted to make it look like these birds are normal, and this is the way they fly, but they're all twisted up and they're okay. There's my baby, my chibi. Looks like she's jumping for joy, or she's a superstar in the air. I don't know what you want to say about that, but that's my chibi. There's my sister, and I'm sorry, so sorry, Heather. Like, I have such a hard time painting her and like portraying her. I have this sketchbook that's made for markers. I drew her, and everybody else in this sketchbook looks fine, but then you get to her picture. Poor Heather. Her mouth is like really small for some reason. It doesn't really fit in her jaw. Her husband looks fine. She looks a little weird. I'm sorry. I'll keep practicing you, Heather, and eventually I'll get you painted beautifully. This other picture in the sketchbook, the watercolor sketchbook, this is a picture from the 1990s, I believe. My husband going through confirmation. I'm not sure. There's his Uncle Fred. They had this floor to ceiling curtains that were like gold lame. I'm like, oh, I gotta paint those in there. So this is like a shiny paint that I used on there and tried to make it look like the 80s. I put some slipper socks on there. That wasn't in the picture, but it looks fun. I don't know where I was. I was out grocery shopping or somewhere. Drew the little idea on a piece of paper, and it was like kind of like of a old movie, a noir movie, black and white, just very dramatic. And then I painted it, but the original looks a little different from the painted one. The original, the rabbit looks a little irritated, like why are you bothering me? And then in the one that I painted in my watercolor sketchbook, he looks just like, I don't know, exhausted or hungover. I'm not sure. I don't know what it means, but here's a little doodle. What does radiation feel like? I don't know. I've gotten burnt by the sun before. It hurts. Makes your skin feel crispy. I don't know what I was going for with this. Here's just some swatches. I got some handmade watercolors from Jasper Stardust. They do transfer, so I have to seal that every time I paint with these, but I do like the colors and whatnot. More patterns. This is just the swatches for Boko Andu. Don't like it. I'm just probably gonna give it to someone. Here's my swatches of all the colors I got of the gouache. Here's more handmade watercolors. This is from Poems About You. And then the last page, things that I've seen that don't make sense. I don't know, these are just like little images that were in my doodle sketchbook, so I wanted to put them in here so I could color them with water media. Thank you for joining me. I'm also going to make a sketchbook tour just to flip through, so if you just want to see how the watercolors or how the pages flow together instead of having it all broken up, you can watch that one. Have a nice day. See you next time.